Good morning. This is X-Pulse AI Morning Mix. Today is Wednesday, April 8, 2026. We're talking a new Anthropic security model with a tightly controlled rollout, Microsoft shipping in-house foundation models into Copilot, and a couple of big infrastructure chess moves. I've got Orion here. Ready?
Ready. Let's get into it.
First up, Anthropic is aiming straight at cybersecurity. What did they announce?
On April 7th, CNBC reported Anthropic launched Claude Mythos Preview, a frontier model tuned to find software vulnerabilities. The twist is access control. It's rolling out only to a small set of defensive partners under a coalition they're calling Project Glasswing.
Who's in that coalition and what are they allowed to do with it?
Big names: Apple, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, Cisco, Broadcom, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto Networks, among others. Anthropic says the model is for internal defensive use, surfacing bugs, validating exploits responsibly, and helping remediation, not general public deployment. It's basically yes to patching, no to publishing a new lockpick.
Does this signal a broader shift in how frontier models get released? Let's go to Microsoft. 3 in-house foundation models across Azure, Foundry, and Copilot. What's real here? Branding or a platform shift?
On April 6th, Cursor reported Microsoft rolled out 3 foundation models built entirely in-house, available via Microsoft Foundry and Azure, and integrated into Copilot. The notable part, published pricing that makes it feel like a utility, not a mystery box, like 36 cents per hour for transcription.
Give me a couple more of those numbers. What are they charging?
They list $22 per 1 million characters for voice and $5 per 1 million tokens for image text input. The point isn't just cheap or expensive, it's procurement math. You can now compare Microsoft native models with third-party options line by line, and that pressures everyone's margins.
So for enterprise buyers, what changes Monday morning?
More leverage and more choice. If you're already living inside Microsoft for identity, compliance, and data controls, in-house models reduce vendor lock-in risk, while still letting Microsoft tune the stack end-to-end. Also, Copilot gets to be less of a reseller and more of a product.
Now hardware money? Broadcom expanded chip agreements with Google and Anthropic. What's the headline?
On April 6th, CNBC reported Broadcom is expanding agreements to produce future Google AI chips and deepening collaboration with Anthropic. Analysts in the coverage talked about potential AI revenue in the tens of billions of dollars tied to Anthropic-related contracts across 2026 to 2027, and Broadcom shares jumped.
Is this about custom silicon beating GPUs or just ensuring supply?
Both. Custom chips can lower inference cost and improve efficiency for specific workloads, but the strategic angle is supply chain gravity. The companies that can lock in design, packaging, and volume get to set the pace of model scaling. It's less one chip to rule them all, more own the pipeline.
Where does this leave smaller labs?
They'll feel the squeeze. If the biggest players reserve capacity and co-design hardware, everyone else competes on leftovers or pays a premium in the cloud. The gap between can train frontier and can't increasingly looks like a manufacturing schedule.
Infrastructure governance story. Nvidia acquired SchedMD, the main developer of Slurm. Why are people nervous?
On April 7th, Computer World reported Nvidia's purchase of SchedMD means Nvidia now controls Slurm's roadmap and code review process. Slurm is the job scheduler behind a huge number of HPC and AI clusters, including mixed vendor environments. The concern is subtle favoritism, like how quickly non-Nvidia hardware gets first-class support.
For listeners who don't live in cluster land, what's Slurm in one line?
It's the traffic controller for compute. It decides which jobs run where, when, and with what resources. If you're training models, Slurm can be the difference between smooth utilization and a very expensive GPU nap.
What should an enterprise do with this information?
Watch governance and contribution policies closely. If you depend on mixed fleets, you'll want assurances on open development and hardware neutrality, or contingency plans like alternative schedulers, forks, or vendor guarantees. It's one of those boring layers that becomes exciting only when it breaks.
Let's hit a few more headlines that matter, without camping out on each one.
On April 6th, Gizmodo reported Meta plans to eventually open source some new models, potentially more permissive than the open-ish Llama era. Same day, GamesBeat, citing PitchBook and the NVCA, said U.S. VC deal value hit $267.2 billion in Q1, driven by AI mega rounds and capital concentration.
Policy and real-world adoption both moved too. What stood out?
On April 6th, Sherwood News covered an OpenAI policy paper proposing an AGI world social contract, including a 4-day workweek idea, ambitious and definitely lunch break debate fuel. Then on April 7th, NPR reported AI tools for mental health therapists are spreading fast for notes and records, while safety and oversight lag.
And two more, one acquisition and one security reality check.
On April 6th, Fierce Biotech reported Anthropic bought stealth biotech startup Coefficient Bio for about $400 million in stock. Another signal Labs want healthcare upside. Also, the New York Times on April 6th described how AI agents could accelerate vulnerability discovery for attackers and defenders. And on April 7th, Sherwood noted Jeff Bezos' Project Prometheus hired an XAI co-founder from OpenAI for AI infrastructure.
That's XPulse AI Morning Mix from XPulse for Wednesday, April 8, 2026. If this helped, share it with a colleague who likes their AI news concise and caffeinated. See you next time.